WWSU 106.9 FM, Fairborn, Dayton, Dayton's right choice, and you can catch us online at WWSU106.9.org.
Hey everyone, check out Rush Week 2021, presented by Alpha Sig Eta Psi here on campus. To find out more information, check out their Instagram at ALPHASIGS_WSU. You're gonna love it.
This is your Right State Pork Minute.
Here are some events happening on campus between Friday, April 23rd and Monday, April 26th. For more details and events, download the Cork app for free from the Apple or Google Play Store. AKA Ski Week. Donate shoes at the bins around campus all week long and help out a great cause here on campus. Indoor rock climbing wall is also open every weekday from 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. Friday, April 23rd, sunset kayaking at Eastwood Metro Park. That is from 6 to 8 in the evening, and there's also a virtual comedian show online from 6 to 9 p.m. Saturday, April 24th, a driveway 5K from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can see Cork for the entry fee and other information. There is a slight chance of showers in the forecast, so be careful there. Monday, April 26th, biking from 6 to 7:30 at Alumni Tower. Enjoy the weekend, and don't stress yourself out. It's finals week, and best of luck to all of you here from WWSU Raider Up.
Yeah.
You're listening to WWSU 106.9 FM, Fairborn, Dayton. Dayton's right choice.
Good afternoon, Raider Nation. Welcome to The Perspective on this Friday, April 23rd. Thank you all for tuning in today. I am Parker Testa. We're joined here by Mr. Scotty Kramer and Shea, Neal here on The Perspective this week. We're gonna do something a little crazy for our last show of the semester. We're doing an NFL mock draft special. Are you excited, guys? I am.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm excited. I did this on Monday. I'm very excited to do it again in a little bit of a different format.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it's. I think the NFL draft is always an exciting time. I think my favorite part of watching the draft is watching Goodell get booed when he comes out to introduce the draft.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Funny.
Well, I'm trying to do some quick math in my head. We got 32 picks in 120 minutes, so we get about 3.5 minutes for each pick to say who we're picking, break it down, talk about why it's a good fit, stuff like that. So shoot for about 3 to 4 minutes on each of your picks today, fellas.
I don't think the first and second pick should have too much discussion, but later on, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing. That's why we extended. We're going to 5 o'clock today here on The Perspective.
Friday afternoon drive home.
Yeah, absolutely. WWSU 106.9 today and streaming on YouTube, of course. For those of you watching on YouTube, it's kind of an interesting setup. We tried to do 3 cameras, but it didn't. It messed everything up. So we have 2 cameras, and the way it looks, the middle name is Scotty Kramer. He's on the left on that second camera, and Shea is, of course, on the right. So let's get started, guys. How this is going to work, I'll kind of explain the format of this. We're doing every 3 picks. So I will have number 1, Shea will have number 2, and Scott will have the 3rd overall pick. And we're going to just go down the list. First round only, so let's get right into it.
Absolutely.
Number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think there's much debate. Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson, the quarterback. He's been fantastic for all 3 years he was at Clemson. He won the national championship a couple years back, and I personally think he's the surefire number 1 overall pick. But of course, you never know. I mean, Jacksonville and Urban Meyer's been talking like they are taking him at number 1. Of course, for the last couple months, and even on Twitter last week, Trevor Lawrence himself said he's excited to go to Jacksonville. So I have Trevor Lawrence. They're going number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I agree. I think Trevor Lawrence, this has been the pick we've known since really Lawrence was a freshman at Clemson. Not the most mobile guy in this class, but he does have exceptional balance, exceptional football IQ. He makes the right play, and he is athletic enough that he can go if he needs to go. Unbelievable ball skills with the touch, the accuracy, the ability to float passes in there. Just the amount of his reads. He's just such an intelligent player with such a high ceiling. I think this is a no-brainer as well.
Yeah, definitely. Trevor Lawrence looks like an extremely great quarterback. We all expected him to go to the Jets, but of course the Jets had to decide to start winning near the end of the season, so he is going to go to Jacksonville. I'm very excited because I've loved watching Trevor Lawrence over there in Clemson for years. Obviously, he's going to be a Hall of Famer over in Clemson. I mean, he's the guy. Everyone loves him. Number 1 overall, no-brainer.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Shea, you're up.
All right.
Number 2, New York Jets.
The New York Jets are on the clock with the 2nd overall pick, like Scotty said. Had a chance to get Lawrence, but decided to be a good football team the last month of the season. With a new, I like their new coach, Robert Saleh. I think it's a team that's on the rise for sure. And I have them going with a quarterback, and I have them going with who I think is the second best quarterback in this class, and that is Zach Wilson out of BYU. Wilson, I think, is the best athlete in this class, without a doubt, at least at the quarterback position. He avoids defenders. He's good at extending plays, picking up yards as a mobile threat, and he also is extremely accurate. He's a little bit undersized, but he uses different arm angles very similar to Patrick Mahomes, and he's just very smart and really, I think, will thrive in a West Coast kind of style offense, which I think is what Saleh's going to implement to the Jets. So I have Zach Wilson going to the Jets 2nd overall.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Saleh. He's been fantastic in San Francisco over the last 2 years with Kyle Shanahan running their offense, really. And he's been the defensive guy over there in San Francisco for, I think, Shanahan's entire tenure there. So, I like that pick. I personally think Wilson's a good pick. I mean, he didn't really play a lot before last year, but when he did play last year, is tremendous talent.
Electric factor for sure.
Yeah, Saleh's a great coach. The Jets are going to have such great recruiting with such a great head coach like that. Even Richard Sherman was considering returning to the Jets just because Saleh's the coach over there. Zach Wilson, you looked at him on his pro day, he looked tremendous. You look at his stats too: 33 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He showed he's a very smart quarterback. He's really solid. Number 2 overall. I think the Jets have finally found their franchise guy as long as they're able to build around him. Unlike what they did with Sam Darnold, who they just recently traded to the Panthers.
Speaking of San Francisco, number 3 on the board. Scotty, you're up, buddy.
Alrighty, so, with Jimmy Garoppolo on the hot seat after being there for about 2 years or so, I have them picking probably the smartest quarterback, in my opinion, Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State. I've loved Justin Fields. Obviously, I'm an OSU fan, so I have a little bit of bias, but, you look at his stats. I believe this was his 2019 stats. As I pull it up here, I believe he had 41 touchdowns to 3 interceptions in 2019. He did tremendous. Last year in 2020, obviously it was a shortened season with COVID and everything, but he still threw for about 70% completion percentage. I think that Justin Fields is the next best quarterback on the board, and I think that's where the 49ers are going to go. I think they're going to go quarterback. They're going to see if Jimmy Garoppolo, is able to do anything, and he's on the hot seat right now. If he plays bad, put Fields in. If he is good, keep rolling with Garoppolo. But Justin Fields, number 3 overall to the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot because Fields is kind of, there's been some doubt with his talent, and I disagree with all those statements. I think we've seen. Kyle Shanahan was out at OSU Pro Day talking to Justin Fields like they're best friends. So if that's not a sign, I don't know what is.
Right. And I'm a guy I've watched a lot of Ohio State games over the last couple of years, and I think that I've seen mock drafts where they have the Niners taking Trey Lance or Mac Jones, and I think those guys are going to be solid options. But Justin Fields, with Wilson and Lawrence off the board, Justin Fields is the best quarterback left with the highest ceiling.
I completely agree.
Justin Fields, the one big weakness he has is that sometimes he holds the ball too long, but that's a weakness of a guy that's just trying to make plays. He has an outstanding arm for somebody his size. He's incredibly athletic. He's right up there with Zach Wilson for the most athletic quarterback in this class. He's so smart. He's a great teammate, a natural-born leader, and I think he's going to be perfect and exactly what Kyle Shanahan's looking for with the future of the Niners.
Yeah, that's something that, holding the ball too long is something that can be worked out.
Joe Burrow had the same
coaching.
problem.
Yeah. So, all right, number 4 is the Atlanta Falcons, and I think there's been some speculation that they're going to trade this pick. We're not doing a trade
It would make it way
today.
too complicated.
Yeah, right.
It's going to make the show like 3 or 4 hours long.
Right, exactly. We'll be going until 8 p.m. if we try to do trades.
Yeah, for real.
Exactly. So the Atlanta Falcons, number 4 on the board. I think they're taking one of the best overall players in this class, in Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. There's been some speculation.
Freak of an athlete.
Oh yeah, there's been some speculation that Atlanta takes a quarterback. I don't think Matt Ryan's done by any means.
No.
I think he still has plenty of talent to lead the Falcons. And under their new coach Arthur Smith, I think he's going to have kind of a resurgence here in the next couple of years. So Kyle Pitts gets a heck of a weapon, or no, I'm sorry, the Falcons get a heck of a weapon in Kyle Pitts, headed to Atlanta at number 4.
And think about it. I mean, Arthur Smith came from the Titans, and how much did the Titans use Jonnu Smith over the last couple of years?
A lot.
The tight ends work in that Arthur Smith kind of offense. Kyle Pitts is unbelievably gifted. He's right up there with guys like Lawrence and Sewell for the best player in this draft. 6'6", 239 pounds, ran like a 4.43 40-yard dash, which is insane. He could go outside and play wide if he wanted to. He's built a lot like a Plaxico Burress, kind of type of player. Anquan Bolden, and I mean, he looks. I don't know if this is just me. He just reminds me so much of Darren Waller. He really does.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good connection.
Yeah, but he's got an unbelievable catch radius. You get the ball within, a foot of him, he will make that play. He's like a basketball player in the fact that he just outleaps every single person for the ball. He became Florida's best receiver his first year they played, and he's, I think, the best receiver/tight end in this draft. I think he's the best skill position weapon in this draft, and I love the fit with Arthur Smith and the Falcons at 4.
Obviously, in 2020, he had a tremendous year with basically the best stats he's had in his college career. But like Shea mentioned, I can't really put too much on him of what he already said. Freak of an athlete. He's going to do tremendous no matter what team he goes to, and he's going to be a monster tight end. Obviously, Austin Hooper, he is with the Browns now, and I think they have Hayden Hurst still, who they traded from Baltimore.
Yeah.
Haven't had too much success with him. I think Kyle Pitts would be the great fit to go number 4 overall to the Falcons.
And I think, especially in recent years, to have Hayden Hurst be the number 2 to Kyle Pitts, I think that's a great tight end room. Because I know Hayden Hurst was highly touted coming out of college, and he was picked by the Ravens. I think it was somewhere in the 20s, early 20s. And he just didn't work out in Baltimore, so traded him to Atlanta last year.
I'll go back to the Arthur Smith hire. I mean, they use their tight end a lot, but they also run the ball a lot with Derrick Henry, and I'm sure they'll run the ball a lot with the three-headed dragon in Atlanta's room. And that means they need 2 tight ends on the field to block. And Pitts is not, I mean, if there's one knock on Kyle Pitts, he's not a great run blocker/pass blocker. That's where Hayden Hurst comes in. Hayden Hurst will still seal the field a lot, even if they take Pitts with this pick. I think it's perfect for what Arthur Smith wants to do with Atlanta. A lot of running. Don't put that much pressure on Matt Ryan to throw the ball 50 times a game. He can't do that like he did in 2015. So I think it's great to implement the running game, and Kyle Pitts could become, the second. I mean, he's from year one, his rookie season, I think he's right up there with Julio and Ridley as their best pass-catching options.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've seen in recent years with the NFL offenses having 2 different guys. They have a blocking tight end and they have a pass-catching tight end. Mm-hmm. And it's something that's been more implemented here in recent years with the tight end position. But 5th overall, I know this is a big one for you, Shea.
Yep.
You're a Bengals fan.
All right.
Who do you have the Bengals taking at 5?
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, so the Bengals, I think it comes down to, and they're both on the board, I think this is exactly how to play out on draft night. It comes down to Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. Those are the 2 guys that the Bengals are considering. And Penei Sewell, I mean, ever since the Bengals were terrible last year, especially ever since the Burrow injury, it was supposed to be Sewell to the Bengals from day one. And it still might be. Sewell is the best offensive lineman in this draft. He might be the best offensive lineman since Quentin Nelson to come into the draft. He's an absolute freak athlete, long arms, wide hips. He's very athletic and speedy for a left tackle. And he's just an alpha dog kind of leader at Oregon, and I think he's going to translate that to the NFL. But I think Joe Burrow, there's been reports over the last couple weeks and months that Joe Burrow is kind of, preaching for Jamar Chase to get to play with Joe Burrow again. And Jamar Chase, I think, is the best receiver in this class. Jamar Chase gives the Bengals something that they've needed, and that's a deep threat. We thought we had it with John Ross. We didn't. Tyler Boyd is one of the 3 best slot receivers in the NFL, but that's where he thrives in the slot. You don't want to put Tyler Boyd on the outside. T. Higgins, a great weapon, but you throw in Jamar Chase with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, it's a top 10 receiving core in the NFL. So I have the Bengals taking Jamar Chase at 5, reuniting Joe Burrow with maybe the best receiver he played with in college.
I've seen a lot of reports of Jamar Chase going to be drafted by the Bengals, and I think that connection is going to be amazing. If you look at his stats from, I believe, 2019, because I think he set out in 2020. Just monster numbers. He almost had 1,800 yards. He had 20 touchdowns. The dude's amazing.
As a 19-year-old sophomore.
Exactly. The guy is crazy. He's a tremendous athlete. Obviously, I personally think that Sewell would be the better fit for Cincinnati, but I do think the Bengals are ultimately going to work on that receiving core, which isn't really needed. I don't think they need to, but I think Jamar Chase is going to be a tremendous guy, like you mentioned, with Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, etc. It's going to be a great receiving core. I think Jamar Chase will most likely go number 5 overall.
Well, I saw a stat the other day that the Bengals were second in the NFL in 3 wide receiver sets last year, with 3 receivers on the field. I can't remember who was first. I'd assume it was Kansas City with Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, and Byron Pringle or whatever.
Yeah.
But the Bengals like to run 3 wide, and right now their third best receiver is Auden Tate, and Auden Tate doesn't work on an every down basis like a Jamar Chase would. So I think Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow really want to spread out this offense, really want to kind of get to a college-style scheme, kind of the run-and-gun, West Coast kind of style offense. And I think Jamar Chase is the best receiver in this draft, and he's going to be a day 1 touchdown machine for the Bengals.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people early on, before the draft, thought Devontae Smith from Alabama was the best receiver in this class. But
so undersized.
in recent,
That's what I was about to say. He's what, about 160 pounds?
Yeah.
Soaking wet.
in recent weeks, it's
and
come
he's
out.
6 foot. I mean, he's super skinny. I mean, you imagine like a linebacker. Like imagine if Ray Lewis was still in the league. Going in, he's running a slant. He hits him. He's going to snap him in half. I mean, I don't want to say I think Devontae Smith's going to be injury prone, but that's a possibility. If he does not put weight on, he will be injury prone.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they're going to use. Whoever drafts him is going to use him as sort of a punt returner kind of guy. But I mean, he's like 5'10" maybe, and 160 pounds. I mean, it's something that we in recent weeks at these pro days he hasn't measured. He wouldn't let people measure him because it's going to drive down his draft stock if they know what his actual weight and height is. So that's a problem with Devontae Smith. I'm sure one of us will pick him at some point.
He's still rated the 9th best player in this draft.
Yeah.
And he's still going to be a top 15
In my
pick.
mock draft on Monday, I had him going to the Lions number 7. So,
Yeah,
I
I
don't think he'll be a bad receiver at all.
No, I just think that as of right now, Chase is more ready for the NFL than
I think
Devontae
Chase
Smith
is a better receiver than Smith currently. I agree with that.
Yeah. So number 6, the Miami Dolphins. Scotty, who do you got? Brian Flores and company taken.
Well, with the Dolphins had a pretty good year. They went 10-6, and they missed the playoffs, unfortunately, but they still had a really good year. And I don't see way too many pieces to touch on other than offensive line and linebacker. Of course, the Dolphins have pick 6, and they have pick 18. I think they can get a great offensive lineman later in the draft. So obviously, we're not doing trades here, which they've traded a lot already. This might be a reach, but I have the Dolphins selecting Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State. I mean, he looks like a really good linebacker. I've loved watching him play. I believe he had 109 total tackles in 2019 and 5 sacks. I really like watching Micah Parsons play, and with the loss of Kyle Van Noy in the offseason, with him going back to the Patriots, I think he'd be a great fit to replace him.
Yeah, I completely agree. Parsons has been widely regarded as the best defensive player in this draft. There's plenty of talented defensive backs that are after Parsons, but he is clearly the best defensive player overall. And the best linebacker in this draft.
Yeah.
All right, so number 7, the Detroit Lions.
New head coach, is it Dan Campbell?
Dan Campbell.
Dan
I
Campbell.
love that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, have you guys seen his press
he's
conference?
hilarious.
I wanted to run through a wall for that guy after that. But I think the Detroit Lions, they need receiver help. I think they take Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from Alabama, at number 7 here. I think they need receiver help. You could argue they need a running back, but they can address that later in the draft. And so they need receiver help after the trade with Matthew Stafford. I think Jared Goff is definitely a serviceable quarterback.
He led his team to the Super Bowl a few years.
He did.
I think a lot of people forget that. He's still, in my opinion, he's a very solid quarterback. And I agree with taking a wide receiver at number 7 overall. Jalen Waddle would be a great fit because, you got Tyrell Williams and Rashad Perriman. And I don't think they need to go running back because they have DeAndre Swift, who had a pretty decent rookie year.
Right.
Not a bad offensive line. They have a new quarterback, and they have a bunch of draft picks on top of it, I believe, for the upcoming future. They have a lot of promise, and I think going receiver is going to kind of establish this offense. Not trying to interrupt you there, but
No, you're good. But they need receiver help. I think Jared Goff is going to get the weapons he needs. They of course still have T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end from Iowa that they drafted last year or 2 years ago. So he's one of their weapons.
Hawkinson had a great year last year, too.
He did, and they lost Marvin Jones.
Galladay.
Yeah,
Galladay's a big loss.
Yeah, Galladay's
signing with the Giants. I mean, he got what he wanted, though, so respect to him.
Yeah.
And
So
honestly, I wouldn't blame a receiver for wanting to get out of Detroit, especially with Calvin Johnson's pass there.
not at all. They've lost. Calvin Johnson. They've lost. Barry Sanders retired early. I mean, it's like a plague in Detroit that you either retire early or you leave to make more money.
Exactly.
With that, number 8, Carolina Panthers. Shea, who do you got?
Mr. Golden Boy Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers, a.k.a. the new stomping grounds of Sam Darnold. I think that it's pretty obvious what they're going to do with their first-round pick. I think it's going to be an offensive tackle. I think they want to protect their new investment, Sam Darnold, which he didn't get that kind of protection in New York. On our mock right now, we have Penei Sewell available, and if he is available on draft day, I think it's a no-brainer. If he's not available, I still think they take an offensive tackle because I don't think Rashawn Slater is that far behind Penei Sewell. I think there's a ton of really good offensive linemen in this draft. But with where we sit right now, like I mentioned earlier with the Bengals pick, Penei Sewell, insanely athletic for his size, a great leader. He's going to be one of the best offensive tackles in the league day one.
Yeah.
Just an unbelievable freak athlete for somebody of that size. And he's still very young and a very coachable player. He's the best offensive lineman in this draft, and I have the Panthers taking him at 8.
Yeah, I like that pick. Offensive line is obviously one of the cornerstones to any team. That's something, as personally as a Colts fan, that Chris Ballard has introduced early on. I mean, his first draft, he took Quentin Nelson at number 6. People hated that pick, but Quentin Nelson is fantastic, like you said earlier, Shea. And that's offensive tackles, especially good ones that can play left or right. Left is obviously the most important side because it's the quarterback's blind side a lot of times. But offensive tackles are really tough to find, and especially good ones. That's why I like that pick.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like that pick as well. I had Sewell going number 8 overall to the Panthers as well.
Yeah.
Obviously the best offensive tackle on the board. And like Shea mentioned, there are a lot of great offensive linemen, but I mean, Penei Sewell took off a year just to train for the NFL. He's already a big dude. He's going to do tremendous things. I think, like Shea said, day one, he's going to be one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL starting off.
All right, the Denver Broncos at number 9. Scotty, who do you have them taking?
I don't know if people will like this. This is a bit of a reach as well, but Drew Lock has been in a bit of a hot seat. Of course, last year I think he threw like 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions or something like that. He did not have a good year. I think they're going to go quarterback. The Broncos are still trying to find that guy. And I know Trey Lance is on the board still, but I think they're going to draft Mac Jones with the number 9 overall pick. That's what I had. His stats looked really good, but obviously he had a tremendous team around him. Mac Jones, 4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, I believe. The guy looks really good. He may not be the best quarterback off the board. I think Trey Lance is still a little bit better, but I think Mac Jones fits their style of offense. I think Mac Jones would fit really well, and I think this is going to give Drew Lock his last year. It's going to be the same situation with Justin Fields. If he gets drafted to San Francisco, it's, hot seat time. It's either you make or break, and I think Mac Jones will be the guy to replace if Drew Lock does break.
Right.
And one destination that I thought was another option for Mac Jones, if he does not go at 9 to the Denver Broncos, is 15 with the New England Patriots.
Yeah, he seems like a Patriot, man, waiting to happen. If he does fall that far, I mean, it feels like Mac Jones is like the perfect New England Patriot.
Yeah, Bill Belichick has never taken a quarterback in the first round.
I think that changes.
20.
I think they're going to pick Trey Lance. That's who I have going number 15 overall if he still stays on the board. I think Trey Lance has very similar play style to Josh Allen, Cam Newton, etc. So I think a great fit, have Cam Newton there for another year on his last year deal.
Yeah.
Let Trey Lance sit behind him. I think that'd be a great feature for the Patriots, having a quarterback like Trey Lance.
I don't think it's a super hot take to say that Trey Lance, out of all the first-round quarterbacks, probably has the lowest floor. Like, I think Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Lawrence, and Wilson are all going to be better than Lance on day one, but Lance has an unreal ceiling, and if he gets in the right system, I mean, he's going to be a stud. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is the last of those big 5 taken because he probably is the biggest risk.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough with quarterbacks right now because a lot of times you just don't know.
Right.
There's so many unknowns unless it's a surefire guy.
We've seen a lot of busts in the NFL. Look at Johnny Manziel, right?
Yeah, there's been. The NFL's been putting out those picks, busts, and then the next pick is some great player like Jamarcus Russell was taken number 1. Who is the next pick? Calvin Johnson. So it's really hit or miss. So With that being said, the Dallas Cowboys at number 10, I think they take Patrick Surtain, the corner out of Alabama.
I completely agree with that one. They definitely need that corner help. They got Trevon Diggs last year. I think Patrick Surtain is the best corner on the board. I think that's a great pick, and I think that's exactly where Dallas is going to go.
Yeah, I think Surtain, like he said, is the best corner on the board. Dallas really needs a corner because Chidobe Awuzie walked in free agency to come to my Bengals. I think that Surtain, I mean, he's the best press man-to-man cover corner in the draft. Very tough, very physical. He's got good size for a corner, really good. Not the best like sprint speed, but he has what a lot of teams evaluate in what we call recovery speed, where when he gets burnt, he doesn't get burnt bad. He fixes it. He gets back in on the play.
He has a good stride.
Right, absolutely. And I think that Alabama's defensive coordinator Charles Kelly hit the nail on the head when he said Surtain's a lot like Jalen Ramsey, and Charles Kelly coached Jalen Ramsey at Florida State, but I think the mentality and the physicality that Patrick Surtain plays like, it is a lot like how Jalen Ramsey was coming into the draft. And I know Jalen Ramsey's a big name to kind of play up to, but I think I don't think it's with a very bold take to say that he'd be an instant starter for the Cowboys, and by the end of that first year, he might be their best corner.
Yeah, I think that's a good evaluation there, because we all know that Dallas's defense has been atrocious in recent years. I mean, early on they had some decent corners. They had Awuzie, like you said, late leaves to go to Cincinnati, but their pass rush has been virtually non-existent for it seems like the last 10 years.
Yeah, right.
Really since DeMarcus Ware, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that they'll address. They address their defense. I think if they don't take a D lineman at 10. If they don't take Surtain at 10, they'll take some sort of linebacker or defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I can completely agree with that one.
I like that.
So, number 11, New York Giants. Shea, what do you got here?
All right. This is one that I think is a little, I don't think it's out there, but it might be not necessarily what a lot of people are thinking. I think the Giants' biggest need is probably an edge rusher, but I'm not a big fan of the edge rushers in this draft. I think
neither am I. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I still think that Miami's got maybe the two best edge rushers in this draft, Jalen Phillips and Gregory Rosso, but I don't know if I can warrant taking them at 11. I don't know. I think that feels like a bit of a stretch to me. So I think another need that the Giants need is a corner alongside Bradbury. And Bradbury is a little undersized, standing 5'10". He's got great coverage skills, but he's a little undersized. So I have him taking J.C. Horn out of South Carolina because J.C. Horn is a Swiss Army knife in college. I don't know if you've seen him play, but he's 6'3", maybe almost 6'4". He can play safety. He can play corner. He's very physical. He has just unbelievable athleticism. He could play strong safety in the NFL. He can play slot corner. He can play outside corner. And he's the son of Joe Horn, one of a legendary football player. I don't think he's that far behind Surtain in terms of top corners in this class. He's a little more raw, but he's got size that he could be one of the most dominant corners in the league just because he could be the biggest corner in the league. So I think the Giants take a chance and get a bigger corner to pair up with Bradbury. I have him taking J.C. Horn.
I like that pick a lot. It's something that the Giants need help on defense. They addressed their offensive help, adding Galladay in free agency. But I think the two biggest needs for the Giants going into this offseason was wide receiver and secondary help. Mm-hmm. They addressed the wide receiver position with Galladay, and I like that pick a lot with Horn added to their secondary alongside or opposite Bradbury.
Yeah, I like that pick as well. I think J.C. Horn is the second best corner. I originally had him going to Arizona with the Giants picking Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern. But J.C. Horn would be a tremendous pick for the Giants at number 11, so I really like that pick.
All right, number 12, Philadelphia Eagles. Who do you got, Scotty?
All right, so originally I had Jalen Waddle getting drafted to the Philadelphia Eagles because I had Devontae Smith going number 7 overall to the Lions. So with the number 12 overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Devontae Smith, wide receiver from Alabama. You know, in my opinion, probably the best route runner in this draft. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation on him with his size. A lot of these height and weight. They're being generous, if you will. You know, he's probably like 5'11" or so, probably like 160 pounds. He's a very small dude. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like if he was going up against Ray Lewis, he'd be a broken back. He'd be in pieces, if you will. I mean, but if you look at his stats, he's tremendous. I really like the guy. I think he's an all-around receiver, mainly in the route running department. I think he's going to be a great guy for Philadelphia. And Philadelphia has had that wide receiver struggle for years. And, I mean, you know, getting Alshon Jeffrey from the Bears, that looked great, ended up being poor. And they've had a lot of other struggles, Nelson Aguilar, et cetera. I think this is going to be the receiver, the Heisman winning receiver, that's going to get it done for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I like that because they need the wide receiver. They need wide receiver help. Their new head coach, Nick Sirianni, is an offensive guy. With Jalen Hurts, I would say he had success last year with Wentz getting hurt. And I hope that, Wentz, a combination of being hurt and just being downright terrible. But the Eagles need offensive help, and they still have one of the top defensive lines in football with Fletcher Cox, and there's one more that I'm missing. But Brandon Grant,
Slay on the corner as well.
Yeah. So he's a
little old. But
they've added defensive talent in the secondary through free agency. So I like that pick a lot with Philadelphia.
Yeah, they also have one of the top safeties in the league in Jalen Mills. So I think that the Eagles, I think wide receivers the number one.
I thought Jalen Mills went to the Patriots or something. Didn't
did he?
I'm pretty sure he signed.
That might be my bad. If he did.
I was about to say, I thought he signed with the Patriots.
You're right. He did sign with the Pats.
Okay.
I was about to say, I thought he signed a decent deal with the Patriots in the offseason because he did become a free agent. Because I was thinking the same thing, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he went to the Patriots. I forgot.
One of the 43 guys that Bill signed in free agency. How about
Yeah,
that?
right?
So safety could be something that they hit on in the middle rounds of the draft for sure. But I think Eagles fans have been waiting for a new number one receiver for a long time. It's not good when your top receivers are Greg Ward Jr. and 38-year-old Deshaun Jackson.
And you have Zach
plays
who doesn't even want to be there anymore.
Exactly. Goddard's pretty good, but I think that when you're coming out, when your best receiver is a quarterback in college from Houston, and then you have Deshaun Jackson, whose hamstrings last 2 games before they strain again, you need to go in a different direction. I think Devontae Smith, like Scotty said, is the best route runner in this draft. And I think if he can put on 20, 25 pounds in an NFL strength program, I think he can be a top-tier wide receiver. And I think the Eagles are the team that's going to be willing to take a chance on him. I think he goes number 12 to Philly as well.
There's going to be a lot of work that's going to be done on Smith to make sure he's a number one receiver, like you said.
It's like with Zion being fat coming out of college.
Exactly.
You just got to monitor everything. It's just the exact opposite. They're going to make sure that he eats like 4 servings of pasta a day.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. But once he puts on that weight, I think, gets kind of muscle a bit more than fat, he's going to be a tremendous guy. I expect him to be an amazing receiver because he was amazing in college. I think he's going to do great things in the NFL as well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So number 13, the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert was fantastic last year for the LA Chargers, and what was the one thing that the Chargers struggled with? Pass protection.
Offensive line.
They're going to take Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern here, to help get that protection that Justin Herbert needs.
Yeah.
With a lot of help, on the offensive line, I think that with Justin Herbert's pure skill, he still has Keenan Allen. He doesn't have Hunter Henry anymore, but he still has a pretty good offense, in my opinion. I think this team could be a wild card team. I think the Chargers could be a very solid team this upcoming season. They are in a pretty tough division with the Raiders, the Chiefs, etc. The Broncos are but it's pretty tough in the NFL for them. Justin Herbert had a great year his rookie year, and I think he's going to keep doing great. I think the Chargers are going to have a great year as long as they keep building up that offensive line and messing around with the positioning a little bit.
Yep.
Rashawn Slater, great pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think Slater is, if Penei Sewell is an A-plus caliber offensive tackle, Rashawn Slater is a solid A. He's not far behind. Rashawn Slater has the size. He has the work ethic. He has the leadership qualities that NFL teams look for. And he played in a very tough, gritty system under Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern. So I think that this guy is, an all-pro left tackle in the making for the next 10 years. So I think that this is a great pick, and I think that it's like what I said with the Bengals. I mean, if Joe Burrow wasn't personally vouching for Jamar Chase, they probably would be taking Penei Sewell because once you find your guy, the biggest thing is protecting him and making sure he stays on his feet.
The one thing that I think we talk about is especially in a conference as tough as the Big Ten with Ohio State, with Michigan, with Michigan State, with teams like Indiana, who had a great year last year. Northwestern is always right there, and that's a credit to coaching to Pat Fitzgerald. And I think that Slater flourished in that offense, and I think that the Chargers run a similar offense to Fitzgerald at Northwestern. So I like this pick to help protect Justin Herbert there. So Number 14, the Minnesota Vikings. Shea, who do you got here?
Yeah, I think that the Vikings go O-line, and I was kind of torn back and forth between offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw and the first guard of the draft, in Elijah Vera Tucker from USC. I eventually decided to go with Vera Tucker because I think he has more versatility, where I think Darrisaw has the potential to be a top-tier offensive tackle. But he's really going to stay outside because of his size. Vera Tucker could start at guard day one in the NFL. He's very athletic, very mobile for somebody. He's a good pulling guard. But he also played left tackle at USC when there were injuries on that offensive line. So he seems to me, maybe not left tackle in the NFL, but he seems to me like the kind of guy that can play left guard, right tackle, maybe even center if they want him to do that. He seems like a very versatile offensive lineman, which I know Mike Zimmer loves. So I have the Vikings taking Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC.
I like that. Pass protection is always the name of the game in football, and not even just pass protection, run protection. I think teams have gotten away from running the ball. I think it's starting to come back because we've seen with the success of players like Derrick Henry, with players like Christian McCaffrey, and players of that caliber. Running the ball is definitely not dead. I know people think that running the ball is dead.
Especially when you have Dalvin Cook on your team.
Exactly.
Running the ball is fun.
Yeah. Exactly. And even on like half of an ACL that Dalvin Cook had.
He's still a top 15 running back in the league on half an ACL.
Yeah.
That is true.
For sure.
I think Elijah Vera Tucker is a great offensive lineman in general. Like you said, he's very versatile. He can go play guard, tackle, possibly center. I think this is actually, I didn't even have him going up this high, but I really like that pick. 14 to the Vikings. I think they do need that offensive line help, protect Kirk, protect the running back core, you know.
And a pulling guard for Dalvin will work great. Where, take the pressure off of Cousins. You can do more kind of stretch plays, power plays. And having a pulling guard like Vera Tucker that can set that edge and get Dalvin Cook off to the races. If Dalvin Cook can make the front four miss on the D-line, I mean, the back seven don't have a shot.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that being said, I think I know who you're taking here, Scotty, but number 15, the New England Patriots, who do you got here?
Number 15 overall, I have the New England Patriots selecting Trey Lance, quarterback from North Dakota State. Obviously, I made the comparisons to Josh Allen, Cam Newton. He can scramble the ball. He has a great arm. I really like him. He has a lot of room to grow. Obviously, like Shea said earlier, day one, he's not going to be the best quarterback in the NFL from this draft. I completely agree with that. But I think he's going to grow to be, a tremendous quarterback. We saw Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills. He wasn't a tremendous quarterback right off the start. We thought he could possibly be a bust.
People were saying Josh Allen was a bust for a year and a half.
And if you give Trey Lance that opportunity, have him sit behind Cam Newton for a year, have a year as a starter, just to ease into the NFL. His third year, I could fully expect Trey Lance to lead the Patriots back to the playoffs. I think Trey Lance, number 15 overall, is a tremendous pick, and I think that's exactly where he's going. He's going to be a New England Patriot.
Yeah, I think that's something that Bill Belichick has wanted to address. I personally know some Patriots fans. They absolutely despise Cam Newton as Patriots.
As they should. He threw for 8 touchdowns last year?
Yeah,
it was very poor.
Yeah, and that's something. Personally, it made my heart happy that the Patriots were terrible last year.
I mean,
we needed a year of that.
Yeah.
It felt good. It felt good to watch that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, the NFL fan base needed a year of the Patriots being awful. I think that's something all of our mental state needed.
I loved watching the Bills be good. I loved watching them go to the AFC Championship. It felt so great.
And the Dolphins being a lot better than we thought they'd be too.
Yeah, I mean that surprised me a lot.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean me and Scotty talked about this earlier. I love Brian Flores, their head
coach.
Flores
is one of the best coaches in the NFL.
I love him so much. He's awesome. Him, Bruce Arians, Pete Carroll, awesome coaches. Obviously, I say Pete Carroll was a Seahawks fan.
Yeah. So here at 16, the Arizona Cardinals lost Patrick Peterson to the Minnesota Vikings. So I think they take another corner. They're going to take Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech here at 16. The Atlanta Falcons drafted Hassan Reddick last year, 2 years ago. He's been great with Chandler Jones there in Arizona as well. This offense, they have a great offense with Kyler Murray. I think also with what's his name, Christian Kirk, wide receiver.
Don't forget D-Hop.
Don't forget D-Hop.
Yeah, D-Hop.
He's the number one there, man. One of the best receivers in the league.
Yeah, of course.
They also got James Conner in free agency too, and they got him for like a 1 year, $3 million deal.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So their offense looks pretty solid in my opinion.
And then they picked up J.J. Watt on defense.
Yeah,
they did.
They can get an extra year or two out of J.J. Watt. I mean, watch out. Buda Baker's one of the best safeties in the league. This team has all the potential to be really, really
I could see the Cardinals being the number one team in the NFC West next year.
Oh, yeah. So Cliff Kingsbury, I think, is one of the up-and-coming coaches in the NFL. He gets a lot of comparisons to Sean McVay. in Los Angeles. These young hot coaches are like gold mines right now. Like you got Saleh, you got McVay, Kingsbury, LaFleur in Green Bay. There's a lot of these guys that are becoming head coaches younger and younger ages. A lot like Bill Belichick, who's been a head coach for like 55 years or something like that.
And I'll tell you what, I think obviously McVay is the prototype for these young offensive-minded head coaches.
Yeah.
But Kingsbury has something that I'm sure McVay's been coveting for years. Jared Goff was a serviceable quarterback that got him to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff has limitations. I'm sure Sean McVay would do some bad things to some worse people to get a guy like Kyler Murray.
Yeah, Kyler Murray, of course. A lot of questions about his size. A lot of these baseball guys coming out of college, I sit here and I'm watching these contracts that these baseball players are getting. I'm like, why did you pick football?
But, I mean, you can talk about his size, but Kyler Murray is one of the 10 best athletes in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Hail Mary throw that D-Hop caught in the end zone last year was
tremendous.
He's running around 15 yards in the backfield every other play. He's just so gifted athletically. As long as Kyler Murray is healthy and on that Cardinals team, they have a shot to make the playoffs every year.
I completely agree with that. Kyler Murray's a very talented quarterback. He's very special. He can do it all. I love watching Kyler Murray play, and he has a tremendous team built around him.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's something that some of these teams.
I like the Farley pick, going back to that. Sorry about that. But
Yeah.
I think Farley, my point on Farley was, I think Farley might be more talented as a pure cornerback going into the league than J.C. Horn is. I think Horn has a little bit of a higher ceiling, and I think Horn fits with the Giants because of Bradbury's size, and they want kind of a bigger guy that maybe plays safety for a year while he learns how to play NFL corner. But I think Caleb Farley, I mean, he might be the second best pure corner in the class behind, of course, Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, that's when we talk about these defensive backs now. A lot of these safeties that are coming out, these hybrid safety linebacker guys are very valuable because you can put them as an outside linebacker, or you play them as a deep, strong, or free safety. So they're a lot of these dual position players, like these corner safeties, safety linebackers. A lot of these guys are very valuable, and they're
Cam Chancellor with his size.
Exactly.
I know I got full for being a Seahawks fan, but like Cam Chancellor, he was able to play linebacker and safety and be tremendous. Isaiah Simmons, obviously coming out of Clemson last year, he looked tremendous. I don't think we saw way too much of what we expected coming into the season last year with Simmons. In my opinion, I expect a lot more out of him, but obviously those hybrid type of players usually end up doing tremendous things on their team, and they're very talented in general.
And the Cardinals were really the team that started that. When Deion Buchanan wasn't working as a safety, they moved him to middle linebacker, and he was a stud at middle linebacker. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see what they do with Isaiah Simmons, and I think Caleb Farley can be a very versatile member of the secondary as well. You could put him at deep safety, you could put him in the slot, you could put him on the outside. I think really Caleb Farley has the talent and the ball skills to really be put anywhere on the football field and make an impact.
Yeah, we talk about some of these guys and we look back in previous years at some guys that could be hybrid guys like that. Guys like Ed Reed, guys like Bob Sanders before he got a million concussions.
He's one of the most he's one of the football players that I feel like fans were most robbed of. Like, he was so gifted when he played, and it's just one of those stories where it sucks because I mean, there's nothing you can do, but it's like one of those what ifs, like with Sean Taylor. I mean, completely different thing. Sean Taylor obviously shot and killed, but Sean Taylor, I think, is on. I think we talk about Sean Taylor like we talk about Brian Dawkins and Ed Reed if he plays a full career.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so
definitely. I love
probably a top 3 safety of all time. I mean, right up there with Lott and Dawkins.
Yeah, Pro Bowl just completely murdered that punter. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved watching Sean Taylor play. Rest in peace.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on. Number 17, the Las Vegas Raiders. Shea, who do you have here? Coach Gruden. And
I was going to say, first of all, it's not the Las Vegas Raiders. It's the Gruden Grinders, man. But, I mean, the first thing that pops off at me.
Hold on.
Hang on.
You did not just say that.
I just did.
Come on.
Gruden Grinders, baby. No, but I think here. So everyone, I think, is going to assume that I pick an offensive lineman here because Christian Darrisaw is available, and they let Rodney Hudson and they let Gabe Jackson go. So offensive line's clearly a hole, but the O-line class is deep, and I think they address it in the middle rounds. John Gruden's a defensive dude, and I think what he does is he grabs the second best linebacker in this class after Micah Parsons, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, a very talented linebacker, very athletic, very speedy. He can also provide support off the edge as an edge rusher. I think he's great in man coverage. He's got a lot to learn in zone coverage, but I think he can be, his athleticism makes him dangerous. He's got surprisingly good ball skills. He's one of the most dynamic defenders in college football last year. He also started his career playing safety, so he's unbelievably fast for a linebacker. And like I said, he also did some edge rushing in college, so he's a very versatile dude. And I think Owusu-Koramoah heads to Las Vegas to play for the Gruden Grinders.
I like that pick a lot, and one reason why is I just want to hear John Gruden try to say Owusu-Koramoah.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, man.
I had him going to, in my draft at least, I had him going to the Oakland Raiders, or excuse me, Las Vegas Raiders. I keep saying Oakland.
Come on!
I know. I've been doing that for like 4
It's like calling them the San Diego Chargers still.
Yeah. I've done that before, trust me. By the way, I mean, you look at his stats of 2019, 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He didn't have a pick, I don't believe. But either way, his size obviously said he can play pretty much anywhere. He's a tremendous guy. I think he is the second best linebacker coming up in this draft. And obviously, Vontaze Burfict did not work over with the Raiders. So I think this is a great pick. I think he has a great future in the NFL, and I think he's gonna be the kind of key piece for this linebacker core over with the Raiders.
It's scary to think about because, I mean, I'm not going to go out and say that he's better than Jalen Smith, because Jalen Smith was the smartest linebacker in college football at Notre Dame. Owusu-Koramoah is a lot more raw. He has a lot to learn. He's got the athleticism. He's got the speed. And he's pretty decent in man coverage. But like I said, he needs to learn a lot about zone coverage. He needs to learn a lot about different formations, different sub-packages. He needs to be better at covering tight ends, I think. He's pretty decent at covering running backs out of the backfield, but he needs to be better at covering tight ends. But it's scary to think he might be a better athlete than Jalen Smith was coming out of college, because Jalen Smith was supposed to be a lock top 5 pick until he got hurt. Owusu-Koramoah could be one of the steals of the first round that we're talking about a year after the draft.
Yeah, for sure. And Shea, Neal, Scotty, Kramer joining us here on The Perspective on WWSU 106.9 for our NFL mock draft special.
Halfway through.
We are halfway through. It's 3:45. We're going to try to make it to 5 o'clock. We'll see what we can sit here and talk about for the next hour and 15 minutes. But I appreciate you all of you joining us here on WWSU 106.9 and on YouTube. If you want to find us on YouTube, you certainly can. The Perspective, WWSU 106.9 is the YouTube channel there. Let us know what you think in the comments, of course. But we're moving on here to number 18, the Miami Dolphins. Scotty, who do you have there?
Well, I think I said earlier, I think they needed the linebacker help earlier in the draft, which I got Micah Parsons with. So with the 18th overall pick, Christian Darrisaw still on the board, offensive tackle. I think he's going to be a great fit over there in Miami. Obviously, they had Laremy Tunsil a few years ago. They obviously turned Laremy Tunsil into like 4 or 5 first-round picks, basically. They've done a lot of great work. I think Christian Darrisaw is going to be basically a franchise tackle for the Dolphins. So number 18 overall, Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle for Virginia Tech. Not much else to say.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. Offensive tackle. I mean, any offensive line position we've talked about is something that's very valuable, and that's something that the Miami Dolphins need to address with Tua there, and they added Jacoby Brissett in free agency, so I think we'll see a little bit of a quarterback battle there, just like we saw with Fitzpatrick and Tua last year. So I like that pick a lot.
Yeah.
So we're going to move
Washington football team, baby.
WFT. I like that a lot.
The Riverboat Rons.
So Washington football team. Originally, I had them taking Darrisaw, so thanks for taking my picks.
I was thinking Tevin Jenkins as well, just because I like the fact that he can play left and right tackle.
So my backup plan for that pick is Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. The Washington football team needs help. I love Ron Rivera. I always have ever since he got the Carolina job. They're gonna need to protect old man Fitzpatrick up there. So I like
Taylor Heineman, whoever they go with. But
yeah. That guy was. I mean, those 2 weeks where he was the best quarterback in the NFC East was awesome.
In that wild card game, he was pretty elite. I'm not gonna lie. He had a great game. He just
gave,
played Brady.
He gave Tommy Boy a run for his money.
Yeah, Tommy had to work for that win.
Yeah, but like I said, Jenkins and offensive line help is huge anywhere in the NFL, and I think they're gonna get Fitzpatrick that protection. They still have Kerrigan on defense. They still have Players like Terry McLaurin, or wide receiver, very talented wide
They
receiver.
also have Curtis Samuel now that they got from free agency.
Yeah. So they're definitely a team on the rise. I think.
Did you see that they signed some type of tight end from Brazil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what his origin is.
Is he like 7'2" or something?
Checking. One of you talk for a minute while I look this up.
All right. Well, how's everyone's weekend going? And what are we doing this weekend?
I saw that a few weeks ago, and I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I think recently we just had Jordan Reed retire as well after what, 7 or 8 seasons?
Yeah. He apparently wanted to play next year, but then his doctor told him, advised him against it.
Yeah,
so.
it's smart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, football is a temporary thing. Life is forever. So
it's a kid game with adults playing it. That's what I've heard. Obviously, I don't know if you guys heard the Jameis Winston speech the other day, but I really like listening to that.
Yeah.
So, the Washington football team signs an international player tight end from Chile named Samus Reyes.
What's his size? I'm curious.
I think he's like 6'6", I thought.
9'4".
6'7", 240 pounds.
Jeez, that's an athletic dude. I'll tell you what. 6'7", 240. It sounds a lot like a guy we mentioned a couple picks. I mean, probably not the same ball skills, but that's about the exact same size as a man from Florida that we mentioned at the top of the hour, and Kyle Pitts.
Promise. That's for sure. Great build.
Yeah, and that's something that I think we're seeing a lot more. These international players coming to the NFL. Some of these Australian rugby players coming in and being great running backs. And
do you remember that running back that the Niners had a couple years ago in preseason that ran for 400 yards in the preseason? He was this rugby player from New Zealand or something.
Yeah.
And he almost made the team. But he just trucked everyone all day long, and it was beautiful to see.
I don't think I saw that. I don't remember it at least.
I know who you're talking about.
I can't remember.
I remember I don't remember his name either, but I know who you're talking about. Wasn't that Peyton Hillis from the Browns a rugby player? The guy who ran for 1,500 yards one year and got
the cover of Madden.
Got the cover of Madden and then was
just
terrible.
Crap. I didn't know he was a rugby
Well, he was
player.
280-pound running back. I mean, what do you
He was a
expect?
big boy.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's like putting William.
He was fun to watch.
It's like
I really liked it.
It's like putting the fridge on the cover of Madden and then expecting him to run for 20 touchdowns the next year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So back to the draft. Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State goes to the Washington football team at number 19. Number 20, the Chicago Bears. Shea, who do you have here?
Yeah. Okay. So right now where we're sitting, because we're all on the same draft with kind of the same board.
Yep.
The top 4 players are edge rushers, and I think I thought to myself, it'd be kind of fun to pair a new edge rusher with Khalil Mack, especially with guys like Jalen Phillips, with Gregory Rosso, with Azeez Ojulari. I think that's how you say it, Ojulari. But no, I thought to myself, Shea, it wouldn't be a Shea thing unless you screwed this whole thing up. And what I'm going to do...
Wait till you hear my next pick.
What I'm going to do is do something that the Bears haven't done in a decade, and that's make a sexy pick. The Bears, new quarterback Andy Dalton, are about to take a new receiver to pair with Allen Robinson, not Alshon Robinson. Allen Robinson. They're taking Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota, 20th overall. He's going to Chicago, staying, in the Midwest. So good for him. The Bears get a new receiver to let Andy Dalton have a new weapon.
Completely flipped the script there, right? Totally thought you were going defensive line. But wide receiver, I like that. Wide receivers are sexy right now, like you said.
The Bears aren't
I like the
sexy.
vocabulary, guys.
Well, the Bears just haven't been sexy in forever. When was the last time the Bears tried to be sexy? They took Mitch Trubisky.
That is true.
Look how that worked
What's
out.
sexy about Mitch Trubisky?
Nothing is the answer.
Overall in the next Madden.
Mono,
as a backup.
yeah.
I mean, it's so I like that pick a lot. They're gonna give Andy Dalton the help he needs. I know Bears fans were not thrilled about the signing of Andy Dalton.
A lot of them hate him.
I know
they want to burn him and his fiery red hair.
Yeah, but
he's better than Trubisky and Foles.
I
get to step up.
Completely agree. I actually really like Andy Dalton. When I went and watched a few Bengals games, I loved watching him play, even though he wasn't the best with the Bengals offense.
My thoughts on Andy Dalton, especially because Matt Nagy's there, and this is a guy who watched him play for 8 years. So I've gotten more Andy Dalton than I feel like any person should have to deal with Andy Dalton. Yeah. But he's not going to win you any games. But he's also not going to lose you any games. He's the perfect average. He's the dictionary definition of average NFL quarterback. If the Bears have a good coaching staff with Matt Nagy, they have a strong defense, if they can get him some weapons and stay healthy, he's a guy that can win you 8, 9, maybe even 10 games. You're not going to be 4-12 under Andy Dalton, but you're also not going to be 12-4. So the Bears, basically, with this move, are shooting for a 9-7 season, sneaking in as a wild card team and hoping their defense can carry them to a couple upsets.
One thing I think that you mentioned with Andy Dalton, he's a lot like Jacoby Brissett was in Indianapolis, where he's not going to lose you anything, but he's not going to come out with 2 minutes left and throw a touchdown pass and win the game.
Right. He's not Josh Allen. He's not just going to rip it for 60 yards and win you a game.
Yeah. So, I like that pick a lot with Chicago there. So, moving on.
Your Colts.
Scotty, don't screw me over here. The Indianapolis Colts at 21. Who do they take?
I don't know if you're going to like this pick, but with T.Y. Hilton getting a little bit older, I want them to go wide receiver. I really think the Colts are sitting in a good spot, in my opinion. They had a good record with a veteran quarterback, and they're going to be getting Carson Wentz, who's shown he can be a promising quarterback. I have them getting a wide receiver from Florida, Kadarius Toney. I think he's going to be a great fit. I think he's good for their system. I think he's going to be styled with T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton, I think he signed like a 1 year deal?
It's a 1 year deal, yeah.
Yeah, he signed a 1 year deal. So this is going to be kind of his goodbye year. I think Toney is going to be a good fit for the Colts system. In 2020, I believe he had his best year with almost 1,000 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. I really like his build. I think he's a great route runner as well. He may not be the biggest dude, but I think with what the Colts do within their system, he's going to fit it extremely well. So I got Toney, the wide receiver from the Florida Gators, going number 21 overall to the Indianapolis Colts.
I gotta ask, Parker, what were you wanting? Greg Newsome? Like, were you wanting corner? What were you wanting?
Greg Newsome would have been good.
I would prefer a corner, yes. So I think Greg Newsome was my idea there. Mm-hmm. But if they were to go to wide receiver, I like Toney. I also like Rondale Moore from Purdue.
I have him going a little bit later just because of his size. He's like 5'7".
He's going to be a slot in the NFL.
I was about to say, it's harder to take him higher up just because of his size. That's the only reason why I have Toney above him.
Right. So, yeah.
What do you think about Terrence Marshall?
Terrence Marshall is interesting. It's something. It's some of these players are tough. I mean, one player that I really like is Travis Etienne, the running back from Clemson. Whoever gets him is getting a hell of a player.
Him and Najee. I mean, they're both just studs.
I expect Najee Harris to be like an early second-round guy. I don't expect him to go in the first round unless one of you guys do.
Well, I think Najee goes earlier than Etienne because he's 2 years younger.
He's
got 2 less years of wear on his legs.
We'll see as this draft goes on what happens.
I guess Najee did blow his knee out in high school, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's some. And Marshall, I like Marshall because he has size, and that's something that the Colts have lacked. They addressed that last year when they drafted Pittman, who had a serviceable year with Ty being out most of the year, but I do like Marshall.
Parker, I have to ask, how much do you hate me for taking Kadarius Toney from Florida with the 21st pick to the Colts?
What would you grade it?
Probably like a C.
I give you a B minus.
B minus, okay.
I mean, the Colts are tough because their offense. I don't know how Wentz is gonna. I have no idea how Wentz is gonna.
I think it's kind of a coin toss.
No idea.
He has a great offense around him, though. Think about it. He's going from the Eagles, where he was getting hit so much, and now he's going to a team with probably the first or second best offensive line in the whole league.
Yeah, I'm interested. He had the best year of his career under Frank Reich. I think this is, if he was going to have a resurgence anywhere, this is not me being biased. I think Indianapolis is the perfect place to have some sort of resurgence with. You have the dome there. You have Lucas Oil. You're playing in a dome. Yep. You have an offensive line to protect you. You have weapons in Doyle, in Pittman, in Hilton.
I like that the first weapon you said is Jack Doyle.
Is there any doubt?
I really like Jack Doyle, low-key, so.
We have a Super Bowl winning team. Our top weapon, Jack Doyle.
Yes. Woo! Yes, I love it. But I think Wentz is going to have he'll have an average year. I don't think he's going to return to 2017 MVP Carson Wentz.
I don't think we're ever going to see that again out of him, unfortunately.
But yeah, I like that pick a lot. So 22, the Tennessee Titans.
You should let them know after the break. We still got to get through 10 more picks.
That's right. So actually, we should go to a break before we get to
Producer
the 22nd pick.
Here.
Exactly. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to finish out the mock draft of the century here on WWSU 106.
We're not that good.
106.9 FM here on The Perspective. We'll be right back.
Have you noticed noticed lately how empty everything is? Empty streets, empty stores, empty schools. But I'm trying to change these empty times by being full of gratitude. Gratitude means saying thanks to the garbage collector, the medical providers, and all those who are helping every day. Things may appear empty around us, but when we're filled with gratitude, nothing is completely empty inside us. Gratitude is in you. From PassItOn.com.
And now, your Right State weather forecast.
Here is your weekend weather forecast for Friday, April 23rd through Monday, April 26th. Friday, mostly sunny, high around 60. Friday night, mostly cloudy, low in the lower 40s. Saturday, cloudy with a chance of showers, high of around 60. Saturday night, cloudy with a chance of showers, low in the lower 40s. Sunday, mostly cloudy, high of around 60. Sunday night, mostly clear, low around 40. Monday, sunny, warmer with a high in the lower 70s. Monday night, partly cloudy with a low in the mid-50s. It's going to warm up a bit next week, so be sure to look forward to that. Enjoy the weekend and Raider up.
Hi, this is Mary Alice with the High Divers. You're listening to WWSU.
Hey, everyone. Check out Rush Week 2021, presented by Alpha Sig Eta Psi here on campus. To find out more information, check out their Instagram at ALPHASIGS_WSU. You're going to love it.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to sit through their favorite boy band with them, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Stony Hollow reminds us this year that texting and driving never mix. Did you know that 1 in 4 car accidents are caused by distracted driving? Stony Hollow Landfill knows that no text message is worth the risk. That's Stony Hollow Landfill on the air because they care.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters.
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner. I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am Hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Pass it on.
This time of upheaval is causing me to look a little deeper inside myself, looking for some goodness. And this is what I've found. I'm more aware of my neighbor's well-being. I'm saying thanks to those who help keep my life as normal as possible. My mail carrier, my grocery cashier, my delivery person. I find myself caring about others instead of just looking out for myself. And oh, my goodness, does it feel good. Goodness is in you.
Pass it on.
From passiton.com.
How do airplanes fly? What's in this box? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Learn how to store your gun securely and make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me and to serve my country.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect our...
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
For those fortunate enough to help the person who has always been their hero, AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect our...
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
AFReserve.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I love this song! I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Pass it on.
Now's the time to stay apart. Social distancing. But I'm adding something else. Pull together. What's pulling together while we're staying apart? It's calling family to check in on them. It's waving to your neighbor. It's the things we should have been doing all along. And when this tragedy passes and we're able to come together, we'll be stronger than ever because we've already pulled together. Stay apart. Pull together.
Pass it on.
From passiton.com.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside.
Pass it
Imagine
on.
if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient.
Kenzie's
That's
like
something
the
that you
fourth
can't
person that's
teach.
handed
we
me
rely
tidbits
so
they
much
don't
on a
know.
resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
Had to be independent and take initiative, and that's how
Like,
I
why do you
handle
buy
every
Timbits
project
if
I
you don't
get.
want them?
discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
You are listening
Facts.
to
Timbits, the
WWSU
official unwanted donut
106.9
of Wright
FM,
State.
Wright State University. Across this state, across this country,
Or-
across this continent, today, right now, college radio is united. This is College Radio
College
Day.
Radio Day, 3 months ago.
Welcome back to The Perspective, everybody, here on WWSU 106.9 FM. Thank you all for joining us here for this NFL draft, this NFL mock draft special. We really appreciate you spending your time with us, as always. So let's get right back into it. It is the 22nd overall pick, the Tennessee Titans. That is my pick. They will be taking, I lost my Greg Newsome II out of Northwestern. Did they lose? They still have Adoree Jackson, I believe, but they secondary help is always needed. So I think they're going to address that here. Adoree Jackson went to the Giants in free agency. That's right. I thought he was still there, but so they're going to address that loss with Greg Newsome. Yeah, I think Greg Newsome at this point, if he's still on the board, number 22, I think it's a no-brainer to pick him up. His size is really good. He's a great corner. I think he'd be a great fit in the Titans. They still look like a really good team on offense, but the defensive side of the ball, obviously they signed Jadeveon Clowney last year, and he ended up being a bust. Drafting a guy like Newsome is really going to help out that secondary, and I think that's one thing this defense really needs is a good corner, and I think they're going to get a solid pick after losing Adoree Jackson. Obviously, they had Malcolm Butler in the past. He didn't work out. So they've had a little bit of issues in the cornerback department, but I think Greg Newsome is going to be the answer for this Titans team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Greg Newsome is, this guy has a lot of more experience than a lot of some of these other DBs do in this draft. He started and was one of the top DBs on Northwestern as a freshman. I think everybody expected Shaun Wade to be the best cornerback prospect in the Big Ten, and Greg Newsome showed him up all season long, and that's coming from an Ohio State fan. He was an All-American. He was first-team All-Big Ten. He was the best cornerback in the Big Ten Conference this season, and he's just got great instincts. He's got pretty good size for a corner in the NFL, but he's got such good instincts where he usually can dissect the play before it even unfolds. He finds the receivers' routes before they even know what routes they're running, and he's so quick to switch into run defense and getting that running back from getting the outside edge. This is a really smart, really talented football player with some great instincts, and I think he's going to be a day one huge impact player for the Titans.
Yeah, I think
And the Brewers
scored.
As we're recording this, the Cubs are beating the Brewers 11-0. So Patrick, our engineer, came in and whispered the Brewers scored. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks for the update, Patrick. We appreciate it.
Now they're only down 11-1.
But moving on here, 23, the New York Jets. Shea, who do you have here?
Well, you made my pick a lot easier. I think that I was debating between an edge rusher and Greg Newsome for the Jets. I think corner and edge is their two biggest needs after quarterback, which they addressed with Zach Wilson, second overall. Jets fans are either going to love me or hate me with how I treated this draft for them.
Okay.
But I think that my favorite edge rusher, there's 4 here available that stick out to me, and that's Kwity Paye from Michigan, Jalen Phillips out of Miami, Azeez Ojulari from Georgia, and Gregory Rousseau from Miami as well. Like Scotty mentioned while we were at the break, I think Phillips is really talented, but he's more of a run stuffer to me. I don't know if he can be an elite level NFL edge rusher. And if you're going to be a first-round pick as an edge, you got to be a guy that can get to the quarterback 2 or 3 times every series. And I don't know if Jalen Phillips can do that. So I'm going to go with the guy that I thought was a top 10 pick until he suffered an ankle injury, until he suffered some injuries at Miami, because he is such a gifted edge rusher when he plays. He was a safety and wide receiver in high school. He's so athletic, so agile for somebody that plays off the edge, and he's going to be a great complement to Carl Lawson on the other side of that D-line. Gregory Rousseau is going to the New York Jets at 23.
I like that pick a lot. I mean, Phillips is one of the guys that I think Mel Kiper has circled on his board as one of the best edge rushers in this draft. But he's inconsistent. It's been said time and time again that Mel Kiper has no idea what he's talking about.
I can completely
Team
agree
McShay,
with that
baby.
one.
Team McShay.
It's just the. I mean, it doesn't. I don't like it. It just makes me laugh when Kiper and McShay are on the same one. You're going Todd over and over again.
And I guess my thought process on this is that I've read for all of last offseason that, like, with a way too early mock draft for this year, like, 10 months ago.
Scored again.
Dude, Patrick's the best.
The Brewers scored again. Thanks, Patrick.
Hey, at this rate, they might come back.
I love how we're treating this like a podcast.
Yeah,
this is amazing.
Right. But 10 months ago, the Bengals were projected to take Rousseau 4th overall in the way too early 2020 mock draft. This guy was considered the best defensive player in the class before he got hurt, and then guys like Surtain and Micah Parsons and stuff like that emerged. I think this guy's he was the best edge rusher in college football until he got hurt last year. I don't think that's up for debate, and I don't think that one injury drops you from a top 5 pick to out of the first round. I think this guy is still a very gifted football player, and I think every football player gets hurt time and time again. When this guy's healthy, he is a difference maker on defense, and that's what you look for with your first-round pick, and that's why I think the Jets take him as the best edge rusher.
He's a very big dude, 6'7", 265 pounds.
He's huge, and he's so quick.
Yeah, 15.5 sacks in 2019, and
so
about 54
fast.
total tackles. I mean, he's an all-around defensive end. I think he is one of probably the best, maybe the second best defensive end in this draft. Of course, the injuries were concerned on why he dropped in draft stock, but he is going to be a great defensive end, and I think him and Quinnen Williams over there.
And Carl Lawson.
Yeah, Carl Lawson now as well. Thank you for reminding me. That D-line over there with the Jets is actually going to be scary. It's going to be a lot of fun watching that Jets defense this upcoming year.
Yeah, no doubt. So the Jets get a quarterback. They have defensive additions. And we all know defensive prowess is what Robert Saleh's MO is.
Yeah.
So 24, Pittsburgh Steelers. Scotty, who do you got here?
Well, ever since Le'Veon Bell started having his issues with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they had James Conner. His rookie year, he ended up doing good. Now, obviously, he's a part of the Arizona Cardinals after not making a deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you got 2 options at running back here. You have either Najee Harris or Travis Etienne. And I'm going to go with the guy who has the more similarities to Le'Veon Bell, and that is Travis Etienne, the running back out of Clemson. I mean, his stats don't lie. He looks like a tremendous guy. Of course, he's not big like Le'Veon Bell at about 6'1". This guy is about 5'10". That's obviously being generous. He's probably about 5'8", 5'9". But, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with these stats. He's a great receiving back. In 2020, he had 588 receiving yards with 2 receiving touchdowns. But rushing, obviously, 2018, 2019, 1,658 yards, 1,614. He had 24 touchdowns 2018. 19 in 2019. I think he's the type of running back that's going to fit the Steelers' offense very well.
Yeah.
They do a lot of passing. I think they are going to have a lot of opportunities with Etienne. I think he's going to do a great job with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's kind of, like I said, I think he has a lot of similarities to Bell. And I think that's what the Steelers organization is looking for as a replacement for Le'Veon Bell. I think he's a great fit. That's where I have him going. Number 24 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think I was debating for a long time. I obviously didn't have this pick, but I was debating who I thought was the best running back in this class between Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. I think that they both have highs and they both have lows. I think Etienne has the higher floor. I think Etienne's going to be ready for the NFL faster than Najee Harris is. I think Najee Harris is younger and has less wear and tear on his legs. I think Najee Harris has a more concerning injury history. I think the big difference, though, is what Scotty mentioned. Travis Etienne's a better receiving back, and I think he's going to fit in with the Steelers a lot better than Najee Harris would, hypothetically. I think Najee would be good with Pittsburgh, but I think Etienne's going to be great with the Steelers, so I love that pick.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot, too. I've watched a lot of Clemson football over the last few years, and Travis Etienne is just fantastic.
A lot of fun.
Felt like he spent like 7 years at Clemson, didn't it?
Sure did.
That was scoring he did.
He's like the Hunter Renfrow of the last couple of years.
Exactly. And John Gruden loves Hunter Renfrow. So that moves us to the 25th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Suburban Myers.
So they get Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall. Their defense is still very good.
Yes. But
they are going to address the wide receiver room here.
I like it.
They're going to take Rondale Moore from Purdue.
Nice.
I love that.
So I mean,
it's a good fit. They need a slot to go with Sharp.
So Rondale Moore has been very good for Jeff Brom at Purdue over the past couple seasons.
Almost got Brahman promotion.
Their quarterback play has been up and down. It really don't have a really consistent quarterback at Purdue, but really that doesn't matter because Rondale Moore was fantastic in his entire time at Purdue. They're going to give Trevor Lawrence some extra help to go along with Chark, and I mean you could argue that they need a running back here, but I think they take a receiver.
They got Carlos Hyde from Seattle, and Carlos Hyde has shown that as a backup in Seattle, he still was very solid, and I think he could do a great job. Of course, you got James, I believe it's James Robinson is his name, the undrafted rookie who had a great year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So having Carlos Hyde as a backup is really good. So I think their running back core is actually not that bad at the moment.
No.
So I think getting a wide receiver at this point is probably the best move.
And
I think Rondale Moore is a tremendous fit as well. Like you mentioned, play him in the slot.
Right next to DJ Chark, who I think is a great outside receiver, and
you
put Rondale Moore in the slot, who's very fast, who can run good routes, and Chark gets one-on-one matchups and can go deep and get open a lot more than he has the last couple of years because he's been the only good receiver on that team. I think it's a great fit, and I think it's something that Trevor Lawrence is going to love from day one, having a speedy, good route runner in the slot.
He's a lot like Tyreek Hill.
Very similar to Tyreek.
He's a smaller guy. Very quick, very agile. And I think they're going to give Jackson...
Also kind of like Brandon Cooks.
Exactly.
That's exactly who I compared him to on my show, Brandon Cooks. And I originally had Rondale Moore going 28 overall to the Saints because, they could use a little bit of receiver help, and Rondale Moore did remind me a lot of Brandon Cooks, and that is the team he got drafted to originally.
Yeah, so moving on here, 26th, the Cleveland Browns.
All
Shea,
right.
who do you got?
Brownies. We have our ups and downs. I'm a Bengals fan, so I know you don't love me. I don't love you, but I'm going to try and do my best for you here. The Browns need D-line. They need D-line. That's no doubt about it. They have Conklin. They have Wyatt Teller. Their O-line's fine. I think their O-line's great. Their skill position players are obviously elite. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham for now. But Austin Hooper, David Njoku, It's a great team.
Do you think that
also
they need
Harrison
D-line
Bryant
more than linebacker, though?
I think they do because I think they want to do something with Myles Garrett that I'm going to get to in a second.
Okay.
I was debating between I think Jalen Phillips would be an interesting pick here because I think Jalen Phillips is a guy that can be very versatile on that D-line and move around kind of, with playing D-tackle sometimes, playing out on the edge alongside Myles Garrett. Which I think they really need, a second edge rusher. They tried it with Adrian Claiborne last year, did not work. They haven't really had that second edge rusher since Olivier Vernon got traded. Olivier Vernon, those days. But I am leaning towards who I think is the best player on the board right now at D-line. And Scotty mentioned linebacker, and I think they do need a linebacker. But I think that the Browns are going to go with the best player available here on this side of the ball. And I'm going to go with Christian Barmore, the defensive lineman from Alabama. I think he is a great fit for this team. He can be a starting D tackle in a 4-3. He can also eat blocks as a nose tackle in a 3-4. And hey, if they need it, he's fast enough and athletic enough. He could probably match up along the other side of Myles Garrett and be an edge rusher as well. I think Christian Barmore offers the Browns a lot of options on the defensive line, and I think he's a day one starter in the dog pound.
I can understand that with the recent release of Sheldon Richardson, but they also have Malik Jackson there, Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett. So in my opinion, I think this is where we're going to kind of butt heads a little bit. I think linebacker is way more prioritized for this Browns defense than D-line. But if you're going to take a D-lineman, Christian Barmore is the best. I think he's probably the best D-line prospect in my opinion, Christian Barmore, Alabama. I've watched him. He's been tremendous. I think he's a great fit. I originally had him going 27 overall to the Ravens, so you kind of screwed me there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he's a great fit. I think he's going to do great things with the Browns. Either D-line to get that number 2 D tackle or linebacker is good. So Christian Barmore to the Browns. I respect that. I really do like it.
Yeah, I do too. So this next pick, the 27th pick, the Baltimore Ravens. Speaking of the Baltimore Ravens, just came out just before we went live here today.
Great transition. Well done. You're getting better in this radio business. Look at you.
Kansas City Chiefs are trading their 31st overall pick on Thursday night, along with 3 other picks in the 21 and 2022 drafts to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for Pro Bowl offensive tackle Orlando Brown, and 1 pick in the 2021 draft and another pick in 2022 draft. So Baltimore now has 27 and 31 on Thursday night. So with the 27th pick here, Scotty, who do you have Baltimore Ravens taking?
Like I said, Shea kind of screwed me over because I took Christian Barmore.
If I had a nickel every time I've heard somebody tell me that.
Yeah, right. But anyways, I think the Ravens could use a little bit of D-line help as well as linebacker help. And I think the linebacker, Zaven Collins from Tulsa, is going to be a Baltimore Raven at this point of the draft. Zaven Collins, I really like his build, 6'4", 260 pounds. The Ravens used to have a tremendous, linebacker core, but it started to fall down at one point. But Zaven Collins from Tulsa, he had 97 total tackles, 2 sacks. He had 4 interceptions in 2020. I think he's going to be a pretty good linebacker. And at this point, later in the draft, I think he's going to be not exactly a steal, but I think he's going to be a very solid pick, at least to say. Zaven Collins going to the Baltimore Ravens, number 27 overall.
I love Zaven Collins. I think he's a very talented linebacker. I think we butted heads on these last 2 picks because what I think the Ravens are going to do is I think they want an edge rusher. And I think that this is exactly where Jalen Phillips fits in my opinion, because he can play a 3-down lineman kind of vibe where he's a run stuffer, but he also has the speed and the athleticism where I think he can be what they wanted Tyus Bowser to be, but Tyus Bowser hasn't been yet.
Yeah.
So I think you can't go wrong with Zaven Collins. I think he's going to start alongside Patrick Queen, and he'll be very, very good. But, I mean, it could very easily go the opposite way where, like we said, the Browns go linebacker and the Ravens go D-line. It's just really kind of how preference at that point. I think both the players that we saw in the last 2 picks are very talented.
So when it comes to the New Orleans Saints here at 28, it's tough because they have quarterback conflict, Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. So what do they do here? I don't know, but I have them taking.
He doesn't know.
I have them taking Azeez Ojulari, an edge rusher from Georgia.
Attaboy.
They need.
They need to replace Trey Hendrickson, another new Bengal.
Yeah, they need defensive line help. Their secondary is fine with Lattimore, with PJ Williams,
Marcus Williams.
Yeah, they have plenty of guys there, so their secondary is fine. Where they need help is their defensive line. So I think they take Ojulari here out of Georgia. He's a smaller guy as far as defensive linemen go. He's 6'3", 240 pounds, but he brings a heck of a presence, and he's going to be he's one of the best edge rushers in this draft. And he'll go 28 to Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints.
Does Payton run a 3.4? Do you know? I think he does.
I think it's a 3.4.
You mentioned he's a little undersized. I don't think he's a D lineman in a 4. I think he's better fitted in a 3-4 scheme because I think he's a perfect 3-4 outside linebacker more so than a 4-3 defensive end, if that makes sense. But I think you're exactly right. I think he's exactly what the Saints need to replace Trey Hendrickson. You put him on the opposite side of Cam Jordan. You have 2 guys that can get to the quarterback on passing downs. And, I mean, with the quarterback kind of question marks that they have right now, hey, if your defense is good enough to keep the other team from scoring points, your offense only has to be average. And that Saints team still has a lot of talent with Gardner Johnson, Marcus Williams, PJ Williams, like you said, Marshawn Lattimore. That team is still pretty nasty.
Yeah.
And I still think it's a team that's going to compete for the NFC South. And I think Azeez Ojulari only helps that cause.
Yeah, they gave Tom Brady and the Buccaneers a run for their money for the division last year. And they're definitely a talented team. So moving on to 29, Green Bay. Who do you have, Shea?
Yeah, Green Bay. This is a tougher one for me, I think, because the Packers, you could argue, need a tackle or an offensive line help, and I think the best one that's available right now is Samuel Cosmi out of Texas.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's kind of a reach a little bit. I mean, maybe not. I'm not as high on him as I was on other prospects that we've talked about in this. He's 6'6", 309 pounds. He has the size, but he doesn't have the experience that I like out of a first-round offensive lineman. So what I'm going to do is we were kind of stunned that the Packers didn't get Aaron Rodgers a weapon last year. They drafted Jordan Love, and then they drafted, of course, A.J. Dillon, who's going to have a bigger role, but they didn't get what we thought they were going to get. I think they do it this year. I think they take Terrence Moore out of LSU. They pair him with Valdez-Scantling, Devontae Adams. I think he works perfectly where you put Valdez-Scantling and Marshall on the outside. You move Adams into the slot where he might be the nastiest route runner in the NFL. And that Packers offense just takes off. And I think under Matt LaFleur, that could be the best offense in the NFL.
Completely agree. Aaron Rodgers has a lot left in the tank. And when he retires, he has a heck of a job in hosting Jeopardy waiting for him.
Oh, heck yes. Yeah. He's been so good. He's been so good.
So
it's been a lot of fun watching him on there, I'm not going to lie.
So Aaron Rodgers still has plenty left in the tank, like I said. You get him the weapons he needed. He hasn't really had a consistent weapon other than Devontae Adams since Jordy Nelson left. So I think they get that. They get that in was it Marshall? Yeah, Marshall was his name. They get that there, and I like that pick a lot. You have anything, Scotty?
No, not too much. I mean,
nope.
Terrace Marshall's a great receiver. Obviously, he's kind of overlooked a little bit to some people at least
because he played with Chase and Jefferson.
Yeah, exactly. He has a lot of talent, a lot of physical stature. 6'3". He's a guy that can go and high point that ball. I think he has a lot of talent, and I would be very happy if the Packers did take him because I've been waiting for the Packers to draft a wide receiver for years for Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? Because I love watching Aaron Rodgers play, even though he kills my Seahawks every year. And I love watching it. And I think Terrace Marshall, LSU is like, one of the WRUs, the wide receiver universities.
Yeah.
And I think Terrace Marshall, he's going to be a tremendous receiver either way. No matter what team he goes to, he's going to do great things. And I think if you give Devontae Adams another receiver, the team's just going to do better. And there's a possibility that the Packers, they could go to the Super Bowl. It just depends on how the season goes, obviously.
It depends if they can finally win the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, exactly. They always end up choking there.
Yeah. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating this because Devontae Adams is a top 3 receiver in the NFL right now. But I think that there's a level of Devontae Adams that we haven't seen yet, and I think it comes with him playing in the slot. And I think if you draft Terrace Marshall, you have 6'3" and size and ball skills on one side. You have Valdez-Scantling, 6'3", with speed, a ton of speed on the other side, deep threat. You have Adams in the slot, and then you still have the very talented 6'5" Allen Lazard coming off as your fourth wide receiver. I think Terrace Marshall elevates this receiving room to another level, not just because of his talent, but because of what Devontae Adams can do in the slot. He's the best route runner in the NFL, and if you're trying to put a slot corner on him, good night.
Yeah, right. I like that pick a lot. Marshall to Green Bay, 30th overall, the Buffalo Bills. Scotty, who do you have here?
Final pick, Scotty.
Yeah, I know. I don't think you guys are going to like this pick at all, but it's
That's the second time he said that. What's he doing here?
I'm a guy that a lot of people think takes hot takes, and this may not be a giant need of position for the Buffalo Bills, but this is a guy who I think is going to be a steal of a player here in the late part of the first round, and that's going to be Jamin Davis, linebacker from Kentucky. I really like Jamin Davis. Even though he's a linebacker, I know this is going to sound stupid, but he reminds me a lot of Cam Chancellor to an extent. He's 6'4", 234 pounds. He's able to make a play on the ball at like any moment. He's an all-around type of field player, and I really think he's a great guy. 32 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception in 2019. Had 3 picks. I thought he almost had a pick six or did have a pick six in 2020 as well. That was like a 75-yard return that he kind of put the Jets on. Yeah. So he's a bit of a faster linebacker. I haven't been able to see his pro day if he did have one for Kentucky. But either way, I have been able to see a lot of his highlights, and I think he's going to be a steal in the late of the first round. I don't think he's valued that high, but I think he has a lot of promise. Obviously, I think he's going to be one of those players that's probably in his prime here within the next 2 or 3 years in the NFL.
I think he's listed as a early mid-second round pick. I mean, it's not a huge reach. I think that, the Bills love drafting defense early. I think that, you stick to what you're good at in the NFL, and the Bills know they're good on the defensive side of the ball.
The Bills truly don't need that much either. I mean, they just went to the
They're
AFC
a stacked
Championship.
team, yeah.
Exactly. They have a tremendous team. The only person I would draft other than Jamin Davis at this point would be probably Trevon Mayrig maybe for the Bills.
Maybe, yeah, because Poyer's getting a little bit
that's
up
what
there.
I'm saying. He's getting old.
Yeah. Or not, is it Poyer or is it Micah Hyde? Don't they
I
have
think
both?
they have both.
They have both, that's right.
Well, they have both. I think Jordan Poyer's the older one. I think he's like 30 or 31 right now.
Hyde's like 28, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Hyde plays free and Poyer plays strong. I think that's how it works. But, maybe safety, but I don't mind that pick. I think Jamin Davis is a very athletic player. I think he has a lot of versatility where you could move him on the edge. You can move him kind of like into a slot corner role where he's covering tight ends that are not lined up next to the O-line. They're kind of out more wide. And
he's able to play anywhere on the field. That's what I truly love about him.
He's got great instincts, too, where he could sniff out a halfback screen or something like that. And when you're playing against really talented running backs in the AFC, like Joe Mixon, like Nick Chubb, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like potentially Travis Etienne, potentially, there's so many good running backs in the AFC. And I didn't even get to, Jonathan Taylor with the Colts or James Robinson with the Jags or there's so many good running backs in the AFC. And having a linebacker that can keep up with some of those running backs and prevent the big plays is so important. So I don't mind that pick at all.
So you mentioned Trevon Mayrig there, Scotty. Baltimore takes Trevon Mayrig at 31. Of course, it's now the Baltimore Ravens pick as we just our draft board that we're using says Kansas City still, but it is the Baltimore Ravens. They'll take Trevon Mayrig at 31, the safety out of TCU. You could argue that they need an offensive tackle after losing Orlando Brown, but I think they address the defense here and they take Mayrig. He's a very good safety. TCU has had some excellent prospects come out of there over the last few years, and Mayrig is one of them.
Yeah, definitely. 4 interceptions in 2019. Obviously, they got Earl Thomas from Seattle due to free agency a few years ago. That didn't work out. I think Mayrig would be a great replacement. I think his stats show that he's really good. Obviously, his size is pretty good for a free safety. So I think Trevon Mayrig is a perfect fit. I know I've been keeping up with a little bit of the Ravens. The draft process, now that they have the number 31 overall pick, if he's still on the board, I fully expect them to go Mayrig with the 31st overall pick.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
I am in charge of the final pick.
It is the 32nd overall pick, the last pick of the first round. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shea, who do you have?
They're going edge rusher, and I think you have a lot to pick with here. You have Kwity Paye out of Michigan. You have Jalen Phillips out of Miami. This will be the third time that I say I think Jalen Phillips is a good fit here. He has a lot of versatility. He has the potential to be a good edge rusher, but he's too inconsistent for me, honestly. This
is where I have him going in my mock draft. I loved Jalen Phillips in the run-stopping department.
He came second for me, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I also really like, I will mention Joseph Asai out of Texas.
Okay.
I'm not taking him. But I think Joseph Asai is a very high-energy player that plays with a lot of physicality, a lot of passion, a lot of fire. The only thing that kept me from taking him here is that I don't know if he can play 3 downs. And I think a first-round pick has to be able to play 3 downs on defense. I think that's got to be a must. If I'm a GM, which I'm not, but if I'm taking a defensive player in the first round, he's got to be able to play every down. Yeah. So that brought me to Jason Owa out of Penn State. An edge rusher. He's listed as the 3rd best edge rusher currently available, but I'll tell you why I think he's the most intriguing. He played naturally at defensive end at Penn State, but he is an athletic monster. And he's just reading this kind of breakdown of him, he certainly looks the part of the next great pass rusher to come out of the Big Ten. He's got potential to be a stud in the NFL. He was an honoree on the Feldman Freak list for the freakish athletes in college football. His testing numbers are off the charts. He was top 2 in edge rushers for almost everything at the combine and pro day. Like, he's unreal. And I mean, it's just unbelievable how big he is, how athletic he is, how fast he is. He has all the raw ability. And I think Tampa takes a shot on him and hopes that he can be the next Shaq Barrett, the next Ndamukong Suh, the next elite defensive lineman pass rusher for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I like that pick a lot, and that's something that the Tampa Bay retained. I think almost every free agent they had, except for Antonio Brown. So I like that pick a lot. They brought back, I think, what was that guy's name? They brought back, was it Pierre-Paul or
Jason Pierre-Paul? I don't know if he was on a contract.
They also brought back Shaq Barrett.
They did get Shaq Barrett back. I think it was a 2-year deal for 30-something million.
Yeah, I think he got like 17.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I like that pick a lot. Their defense is what won them that Super Bowl, even though Tampa Bay put up like 38 points.
There's no such thing as having too good of a defense.
Exactly.
Defense wins championships, man. And going defense, I think, at the number 32 spot. Obviously, the number 32 spot in the NFL draft is always a hard one because it's the last pick of the first round, and obviously your team is usually in a good spot because you have a pretty stacked team. I mean, I definitely think Tampa Bay is going to go edge. I do like Jason going there. I can never pronounce his last name, but I personally have Jalen Phillips because they had a great run-stopping defense over there in Tampa Bay, and I think Jalen Phillips would just be tremendous. I think he would be a great fit. You know, Jason Pierre-Paul is on the older side, so once he kind of becomes on the end of his year, I think his is his last year with the Bucks on his contract. I think if Jalen Phillips did get drafted there, he'd be a great replacement.
The reason I went with Jason Owa here is because of Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh. They have the guys in place where this is a raw player. There's no doubting it. He didn't play for 3 full years at Penn State. This is a raw player. He has amazing athleticism, amazing size, amazing speed, but he's raw. He needs a good system. He needs a good coach. I think Bruce Arians is that coach. I think Tampa can be that
one of the
system.
best coaches in the league right now.
Absolutely. And I think what happens here is that they let him come in on, third downs, and they let him kind of ease in to his time in the NFL with guys like Barrett, with guys like Pierre-Paul, who he can go up against in practice every day. He can try and get around guys like Ali Marpet and like Tristan Wirfs, 2 of the more talented young offensive linemen in the league. He's going to get pushed every single day in Tampa to get better. And by the end of his rookie year, this is a guy that has the size and the speed. It's insane that I'm going to compare him to maybe the best 3-down defensive lineman in football other than Aaron Donald, but he reminds me a lot of Myles Garrett. He really does. And if he gets the right coaching in place, I think he can be a Myles Garrett type impact.
Well, that was our first round, gentlemen. That was
really fun.
A lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun with that. I wish I did that for my show. Obviously, I love doing it on my show, but this was a lot of fun having the picks go live. That was really good.
It was a lot of fun. So, guys, I can't thank enough for your time. And to all of you out there listening on WWSU 106.9, thank you for sticking us for an hour and 40 minutes. It was a lot of fun to do this. Catching you up on Wright State here pretty quick. Wright State baseball wins their first match against match. Shea, I'm doing it again.
Way to go, man.
I'm mixing it up.
I told you, now that volleyball's over, you're going to call everything a match. And then when you finally get back to game, it's going to be volleyball season.
But Wright State baseball won their first game against NKU today down, I think they're in Highland Heights. They won that one 12-1. They have a doubleheader today.
Mookie Betts of the Horizon League, Quincy Hamilton went yard.
At NKU. The doubleheader today, and then they have a doubleheader on Sunday with Northern Kentucky as well.
Yeah.
You're
Weather
right.
Tomorrow is supposed to be terrible, so they moved it back to a doubleheader on Sunday. But yeah, great first day today for the Raiders. Strand went 5 innings, had 7 strikeouts, only gave up 1 run. It was in the first inning. So, the first inning is the hardest inning for any pitcher. It's always hard to get comfortable. It's always hard to get settled in. Once you do, you're locked in, and that's, from my experience as well. But Strand was great today. The bullpen held down the lead. And Quincy Hamilton and I believe Alex Alders both went yard today. And it was a great day for the Raiders with 5 extra base hits, and they still got another one going on right now.
Yeah, well, Wright State golf as well. Last Sunday, 18th and 19th, Sunday and Monday, they had the Wright State Invitational at Heatherwood Golf Club in Springboro. They came out at number 1 overall winners both days there. So congratulations to Coach Arlinghouse and the Wright State golf team.
They've had quite the year, man.
They have. I think they
started off slow, but I think they've come top 3 in their last 6 tournaments.
Yeah. So Coach Arlinghouse and the Wright State Raider golf team are headed up to West Lafayette, Indiana, at the Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex coming up on Sunday through Tuesday for the Horizon League Championship up there in West Lafayette. So excited for that.
We talked about it on I talked about it with Noah on the Raider Sports Podcast this week, but the way this team's playing right now, they got to be the favorites for the Horizon League title. They have so much momentum right now.
For sure, no doubt. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. To all of you out there listening on WWSU 106.9 and watching on YouTube, thank you for your support all semester long. Thank you to Sammy Irvin, Patrick Schmalstig for all of their help all semester long. We will talk to you in the fall, everybody, here on The Perspective. WWSU 106.9 FM. Have a great summer, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Hey, this is Mac Miller, and you're listening to WWSU, Dayton's Right Choice.